On the topic of adaptive modeling, and you talk about lifelong learning, which is I think a topic that's understudied, or maybe because nobody knows what to do with it. But like, if you look at Alexa or most of our artificial intelligence systems that are primarily machine learning based systems or dialogue systems, all those kinds of things, they know very little about you in the sense of the lifelong learning sense that we learn as humans, learn a lot about each other, not in the quantity of facts, but like the temporally rich set of information that seems to like pick up the crumbs along the way that somehow seems to capture a person pretty well. Do you have any ideas how to do lifelong learning? Because it seems like most of the machine learning community does not.
No. Well, by the way, not only does the machine learning community not spend a lot of time on lifelong learning, I don't think they spend a lot of time on learning, period, in the sense that they tend to be very task focused. Everybody is overfitting to whatever problem is they happen to have. They're over engineering their solutions to the task. Even the people, and I think these people too, are trying to solve a hard problem of transfer learning, right? I'm going to learn on one task, I'm going to learn the other task. You still end up creating the task. It's like looking for your keys where the light is, because that's where the light is, right? It's not because the keys have to be there. I mean, and one could argue that we tend to do this in general. We tend to kind of do it as a group. We tend to hill climb and get stuck in local optima. And I think we do this in the small as well. I think it's very hard to do because look, here's the hard thing about AI, right? The hard thing about AI is it keeps changing on us, right? What is AI? AI is the art and science of making computers act the way they do in the movies, right? That's what it is, right? And
that's a good definition.
But beyond that,
and they keep coming up with new movies.
Yes, and it's just right, exactly. We are driven by this kind of need to the sort of ineffable quality of who we are, which means that the moment you understand something is no longer AI. Right. Well, like we understand this. That's just you take the derivative and you divide by 2, and then you average it out over time in the window. So therefore, that's no longer AI. So the problem is unsolvable because it keeps kind of going away. This creates a kind of illusion, which I don't think is an entire illusion, of either there's very simple task-based things you can do very well and over-engineer. There's all of AI, and there's like nothing in the middle. Like it's very hard to get from here to here, and it's very hard to see how to get from here to here. And I don't think that we've done a very good job of it because we get stuck trying to solve the small problem that's in front of it, myself included. I'm not going to pretend that I'm better at this than anyone else. And of course, all the incentives in academia and in industry are set to make that very hard because you have to get the next paper out, you have to get the next product out, you have to solve this problem, and it's very sort of naturally incremental. And none of the incentives are set up to allow you to take a huge risk unless you're already so well established you can take that big risk. And if you're that well established that you can take that big risk, then you've probably spent much of your career taking these little risks, relatively speaking. And so you have got a lifetime of experience telling you not to take that particular big risk, right? So the whole system's set up to make progress very slow. That's fine. It's just the way it is. But it does make this gap seem really big, which is my long way of saying I don't have a great answer to it, except that stop doing n equals 1. At least try to get n equal 2 and maybe n equals 7 so that you can say, or maybe t is a better variable here. Mm-hmm. I'm going to not just solve this problem, I'm going to solve this problem and another problem. I'm not going to learn just on you. I'm going to keep living out there in the world and just seeing what happens, and that we'll learn something as designers, and our machine learning algorithms and our AI algorithms can learn as well. But unless you're willing to build a system, which you're going to have live for months at a time in an environment that is messy and chaotic, you cannot control, then you're never going to make progress in that direction. So I guess my answer to you is yes. My idea is that it's not no, it's yes, you should be deploying these things and making them live for months at a time and be okay with the fact that it's going to take you 5 years to do this. Not rerunning the same experiment over and over again and refining the machine so it's slightly better at whatever, but actually having it out there and living in the chaos of the world and seeing what its learning algorithm, can learn, what data structure it can build, and how it can go from there. Without that, you're going to be stuck ultimately.
What do you think about the possibility of n equals 1 growing? Is a probably crude approximation, but growing, like if we look at language models like GPT-3, if you just make it big enough, it'll swallow the world. Meaning like it'll solve all your t to infinity by just growing in size. Of this, taking the small over-engineered solution and just pumping it full of steroids in terms of compute, in terms of size of training data, and the Jan LeCun style self-supervised or the OpenAI self-supervised, just throw all of YouTube at it, and it will learn how to reason, how to paint, how to create music, how to love, all of that by watching YouTube videos.
I mean, I can't think of a more terrifying world to live in than a world that is based on YouTube videos. But yeah, I think the answer that I just kind of don't think that'll quite, well, it won't work that easily, right? You will get somewhere and you will learn something, which means it's probably worth it, but you won't get there. You won't solve here's the thing. We build these things and we say we want them to learn. But what actually happens, and let's say they do learn. I mean, certainly every paper I've gotten published, the things learn. I don't know about anyone else. But they actually change us, right? We react to it differently, right? So we keep redefining what it means to be successful, both in the negative in the AI case, but also in the positive in that, oh, well, this is an accomplishment. I'll give you an example, which is like the one you just described with GTP. Let's get completely out of machine learning. Well, not completely, but mostly out of machine learning. Think about Google. People were trying to solve information retrieval, the ad hoc information retrieval problem forever. I mean, first major book I ever read about it was 71, I think was when it came out. Anyway, it's, we'll treat everything as a vector and we'll do these vector space models and whatever. And that was all great. And we made very little progress. I mean, we made some progress. And then Google comes and makes the ad hoc problem seem pretty easy. I mean, it's not. There's lots of computers and databases involved, but, and there's some brilliant algorithmic stuff behind it too, and some systems building. But the problem changed, right? If you've got a world that's that connected so that you have, there are 10 million answers, quite literally, to the question that you're asking, then the problem wasn't give me the things that are relevant. The problem is don't give me anything that's irrelevant, at least in the first page, because nothing else matters. So Google is not solving the information retrieval problem, at least not on its webpage. Google is minimizing false positives, which is not the same thing as getting an answer. It turns out it's good enough for what it is we want to use Google for, but it also changes what the problem was we thought we were trying to solve in the first place. You thought you were trying to find an answer, but you're not, or you're trying to find the answer, but it turns out you're just trying to find an answer. Now, yes, it is true, it's also very good at finding you exactly that web page. Of course, you trained yourself to figure out what the keywords were to get you that web page. But in the end, by having that much data, you've just changed the problem into something else. You haven't actually learned what you set out to learn. Now, the counter to that would be maybe we're not doing that either. We just think we are because we're in our own heads. Maybe we're learning the wrong problem in the first place. But I don't think that matters. I think the point is that Google has not solved information retrieval. Google has done an amazing service. I have nothing bad to say about what they've done. Lord knows my entire life is better because Google exists. And if it weren't for Google Maps, I don't think I've ever found this place.
Where is this?
Like 95. I see 110 and I see, but where did 95 go? So I'm very grateful for Google, but they just have to make certain the first 5 things are right.
Yeah.
And everything after that is wrong.